This is Rudkowski of WeAreChange.org here in some kind of jungle, really, like no joke. I am here actually in Tulum, Mexico at the Crypto Psychedelic Conference. So I am joined, of course, by Josh of World Alternative Media. He is somewhere cold, somewhere in Canada, while I am here in Mexico. And of course, we are going to be giving you the most important news that happened in cryptocurrencies this week in this video. But before we get started, last week we told you that you, the audience, will decide the name of this show. And since YouTube is pretty much mentally challenged and doesn't let you know the top comment, we can't really find out who is the top comment, who you guys voted for what the name of the show would be. I mean, we saw some submissions. We saw the crypto cucks. We saw the douche dildos. What are some of the ones that you saw, Josh?
Well, we saw crypto exchange. We saw poop dongers. I prefer crypto exchange personally.
I was hoping for poop dongles, but whatever. You guys will decide the name of the show eventually, but we're going to have to do it on a different platform that actually tells you the most upvoted comments. So we're going to do it for the community that gave back to us most, and that, of course, is the Steemit community. On the Steemit post, which will be in the description and in the comments of this video, the #1 upvoted comment will be the name of this show. So vote wisely. Check out Steemit. You actually earn cryptocurrencies for participating, not just creating content on there, and it has been huge for people like me and Josh keeping independent media alive. Anyway, regardless of that, Josh, this week hasn't really been a good week for cryptocurrencies, especially from all the news that we've been hearing in India, where we saw a massive price drop in Bitcoin as the media misinterpreted another speech by the government there that was talking about government regulations and cryptocurrencies. Not a surprise, Josh, what actually happened?
Okay, well, a few weeks ago, Luke, we talked about the first big dip in Bitcoin at the beginning of January, and that was mostly due to the fact that South Korea, the Attorney General basically mentioned that they might ban Bitcoin in the country, which was false. The finance minister assured people that it was false. However, Reuters and other mainstream media threw it out in the media as if it were fact without doing any research, and it led to a mass exodus of Bitcoin. And there's a huge pullout. There's a lot of panic. Then it started recovering back up almost at 13,000 US dollars. And then there's news out of China. And now there's news out of India. And again, this goes back to the media, the mainstream media doing everything they can alongside government and banks to try and crash cryptocurrency, and I'll explain why soon. But what happened in India basically was that the finance minister, Arun Jaitley, said that there should be some kind of regulations on Bitcoin, as he said, and I quote, "The government does not recognize cryptocurrency as legal tender or coin and will take all measures to eliminate the use of these crypto assets in financing illegitimate activities or as part of the payment system." But he wasn't actually talking about banning. What he was actually talking about were just vast regulations, you know, the things that are unenforceable. Governments around the world try it. But the mainstream media, everywhere you look, was saying that India was going to ban Bitcoin. And, you know, people, prominent names like Peter Schiff were sharing, you know, stuff all over Facebook about how India was going to ban Bitcoin. Absolutely false. So I need to kind of get into this a bit because this is rather complicated. Many people see India as like the cashless society, and too many people mix up cryptocurrency, decentralized, free market competing currencies like Bitcoin to fiat centralized global currencies like what they're trying to push through the IMF into the SDR special drawing rights to create a world currency. Now, India has been at the precipice of creating a centrally planned cashless system, forcing people into bank accounts under the guise of helping poor people, when really it was just to track them, and taxing people over the top. And Luke, I know you have an interesting story having been to India during the demonetization.
I saw it firsthand, and it was astonishing to see that the levels that the Indian government was willing to go to in order to generate more tax revenue. As soon as I landed in India, the Indian government decided to take two of one of the biggest denomination notes in the currency of India and just make them illegal, and told the general public that these high denomination bills will no longer be valid within the next week. And then this caused a panic. Everyone had to run to the banks to give in these notes, very high denomination notes. The banks then took down their information and then figured out, wait, you're hoarding this money. You never declared this money. You never paid taxes on this money. And therefore, now you need to pay all these taxes on this money that we thought you never had, that you never declared. Because of this, it caused a panic. There was fights. There was lines down the block. And as soon as I landed, there was no way of getting any money out because India is mainly a cash society. And India is pushing for a cashless society. So we were stuck there, no cash. Very few places took credit cards. Very few places took debit cards. There was people sleeping outside of banks just to exchange their money so they could actually have currency that they could actually use since the government announced that just out of nowhere, just out of this moment, surprise, surprise, all of the notes that you had are going to be worthless soon unless you go to the bank and have an accounting of how much taxes you paid and didn't pay. So the Indian government, I mean, you just go to India. You know they're not really doing this to fight illegal, illicit activities. You travel to India once, you could see human life takes a back seat to corruption, to the bureaucrats, to an institution and a government that does not give a damn about its people. And if it's ever more clear, it is definitely the clearest in India. Go to India if you have the chutzpah, if you have the balls for it. I don't recommend it. It's crazy there. You see people cutting off their limbs just so they can be better beggars there. Something I don't recommend. But India, a whole new place. The government definitely does not give a damn about its people.
Yeah, historically, India has had a very prosperous free market system, and the government wanted to crack down on the second biggest population on the planet in order to watch everyone's moves and steal people's money, aka taxation, under the guise of helping the poor, which is absolute nonsense. So many people with Stockholm Syndrome there believe that the government is doing the right thing, that Narendra Modi really has their best intentions in mind, and it's absolute nonsense. So basically, I want to quickly explain, as I do so often, the differences between the fiat system and Bitcoin. Those who believe that fiat and Bitcoin are the same thing don't understand what Bitcoin or fiat are. So fiat is centrally planned legal tender currency enforced by law that, you know, out of control quantitative easing and fractional reserve lending. Bitcoin is decentralized cryptographic currency on the free market. It's competing currency. It's based in scarcity, demand, and application use. It has a cap on creation at 21 million Bitcoin in the year 2140. So there's a vast difference, and people see cashless and they mix up, you know, digital currency, cryptocurrency, blockchain, and Bitcoin all into one definition, which is absolutely incorrect. So what's happening in India is that they hate Bitcoin because the establishment hates Bitcoin because people can avoid taxes, people can actually freely exchange goods for services, but they love their digital currency system, their cashless system, where they can do bail-in regimes where they steal depositors' money out of bank accounts to settle risky bets and debt that they have. And, you know, with Bitcoin, you can escape that system. You can't do a run on a bank when you have something like a bail-in regime under a digital system. So the digital currency in India is far, far, far apart from what we see with Bitcoin. So people need to understand the differences because they are so crucial. It's like I've often said, you can use a gun to slaughter a whole bunch of innocent people, or you could use that same gun to save all those innocent people from being slaughtered. And the same goes for the blockchain. The same goes for digital currency. One size doesn't fit all.
It definitely doesn't, and it's very interesting seeing the media not talk about the good stories, like the South Korean finance minister announcing that they won't actually be blocking Bitcoin exchanges like was previously announced by the mainstream media. You don't hear those kind of positive good stories, but you do hear a lot of manipulation, a lot of bad stories about cryptocurrencies, and this week has really been something else when it comes to just the onslaught of negative PR coverage that they have, that the cryptocurrency world has been receiving, including this next story where Facebook now is banning all ads promoting cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin and ICOs.
Yeah, absolutely. One of their main ideas is, as this article from Reuters says, Facebook said in a post on its website this week that it was banning all advertising that promote financial products and services that are frequently associated with misleading or deceptive promotional practices such as binary options, initial coin offerings, and cryptocurrency. And as this article from CNBC goes into, and I quote, "This policy is intentionally broad while we work to better detect deceptive and misleading advertising practices," wrote Rob Leathern, one of Facebook's ad tech directors. years. We will revisit this policy and how we enforce it as our signals improve. Now, again, it kind of goes down to personal responsibility, right? So they want to tell people not to trust, shady businesses. Okay, fine. It's technically somewhat of a private organization, Facebook, even though they get a ton of money from the government. But the main point here is that people shouldn't be stupid. They should understand what they are doing, because personal responsibility is a hallmark of freedom itself and liberty itself. So when it comes to shady ads, well, maybe you shouldn't get involved with a Ponzi scheme or a pyramid scheme like, I don't know, BitConnect, and maybe you should do your own due diligence and learn about something before seeing an ad on the side of Facebook and saying, oh, okay, I'm going to click on that and give them all my money. The fact is, if people want to advertise a really good idea, like for example, an EOS ICO or something to do with Bitcoin, getting into Bitcoin, then they should have the right to advertise on Facebook, and people should have the right to make their own decisions. But Facebook has been molding the whole system so that they decide what we see, they decide what we do, because, they say that they're looking out for us. It's that whole nanny state doctrine where, I get really annoyed, Luke, when I go on Facebook these days, and at the top of the page, I have some message from Mark Zuckerberg saying, we know that you don't like to see these things. You want to see this instead. And then they cut out all Facebook pages so you can't really see Facebook pages in your newsfeed. And I'm just thinking, like, why are they telling me what I want to see? This is kind of slowly brainwashing people, in my opinion, over time to kind of bend over to Facebook's guidelines. And it's just no different than the mainstream media, which has molded our mind. And now Facebook is doing the same thing, which is attempting to change people's perspective on things in favor of the establishment official perspective, which again comes down to individuals need to break free from this and decentralize, which is why things like Steemit exist, which is why things like DTube exist on the blockchain, to escape this centralized brainwashing technique by the mainstream media, governments, and banks.
Well, let's just be honest with ourselves. If there ever was a ruthless, cutthroat, money-hungry social media organization, it is without a doubt Facebook. They don't give a damn about giving you a good product or not. I mean, I checked out some of the products. There was like penis enlargement deals and advertisement that Facebook was selling and going out there. They only care about their PR and, of course, their bigger interest, which, of course, is earning more power, money, and control. And it's very interesting that they're doing this now, because cutting off cryptocurrencies is like saying you're cutting off the internet. Being like, well, there's a company that did something bad here on the internet, so we're totally cutting off the internet. That's not how it works. Yes, there are some quick get-rich schemes and Ponzi schemes and corporate Wall Street butthole types who don't give a damn about the bigger ideology of cryptocurrencies and just want to make a quick buck and rob people. Yeah, but that's what every institution, that's what every kind of day of life experiences that people go through. But I find it interesting because just last week we covered, or 2 weeks ago, we covered how Facebook is working on their own kind of cryptocurrency and trying to integrate it with their social media platform. So that's why I think, we are seeing a low in Bitcoin. We are seeing a lot of negative PR around it, especially by the establishment type, especially by the mainstream media, which is no surprise there. But there is some interesting positive news that you told me about this week, Josh.
Well, absolutely. So first of all, it's out of desperation as the stock market hits these highs and it starts to, break at its seams, break at its foundation, and they're attacking Bitcoin, attacking cryptocurrencies in order to try and suppress it as people are pulling out of the bond markets and pulling out of the stock markets. They're shoving these ads to buy high into the stock market on Facebook at the same time. So basically you could see their whole agenda play out where they're trying really hard to stop people from getting into cryptocurrencies and keep them continuously investing in, fiat and investing in bonds and investing in stocks that are heavily manipulated by the banking system. Basically, everything's manipulated by the banking system these days. But I mean, cryptocurrency is one of the great ways to escape that system, in my opinion. But looking at this article from Anti-Media written by Carrie Wedler, it goes into the fact that there's a split from PayPal. eBay's split from PayPal will enable eBay to begin accepting Bitcoin cryptocurrencies. cryptocurrencies. Now, this is rather good news long term because, of course, we're looking at a potential bear market going into the end of February, even longer with Bitcoin. Nothing goes up forever, but there are upsides coming up like the Lightning Network and this potential use of Bitcoin by eBay, much like Overstock.com uses Bitcoin as well. And I think that we are seeing a bullish long-term scenario and a short-term bearish scenario. So we have a lot of opportunity right now to actually focus on the fundamentals of cryptocurrency. You know, for so long we were getting really greedy. Everything was just going up and up and up, and we kind of get delusional thinking that everything's going to permanently go up forever, which is just not the case. It's just not realistic. Now we've seen this setback. It gives us time to really look at why Bitcoin exists in the first place, why so many cryptocurrencies exist in the first place. The ones that with really bad fundamentals, understand that we need to stay away from those as there is a bubble, just like there are incredible cryptocurrencies with great fundamentals that we need to understand and see why they exist and what uses they provide, what innovation they provide. This gives us time to really focus on this instead of getting in on the next big pump. As I've said so many times before, Luke, the dot-com bubble didn't mean the end of the internet. You know, Amazon and Google were hit really hard by the dot-com bubble, as was pets.com. The difference is that Amazon and Google had core fundamental use, which people and individual demand favored long term. But then you look at things like pets.com, i.e. the terrible, terrible altcoins in the cryptocurrency market that have no fundamentals, and we saw that come crashing and burning down. So that just comes down to individuals understanding what they're getting into before they get into it. Again, personal responsibility is the main point to make here as we move on in this incredible new innovating world that is going to basically lay out a path towards our future. There's no way that this is the end of cryptocurrencies. We have so much to look forward to. We have so many new innovations that we could look forward to. And I think that there's a lot of fear, and I think that fear, it's just shaking out the lightweights in the market. And going forward, we're going to be able to prove all the people that said, see, I told you so, wrong, by ourselves being able to look at them and say, see, I told you so. Cryptocurrency is a future. Blockchain can be used for good or evil. It comes down to us to decide which one it's going to be, and it means that we need to innovate this market. We need to support decentralization and the pull away from the central banking system.
Just really quick, Josh, do you think this is the tech bubble kind of crash like we saw in 2000 with the internet? Yes or no?
Yeah, I think for the bad altcoins, it is the tech bubble again. Just like for the good altcoins or the good cryptocurrencies, this is a tech bubble, and they will prevail long term.
Yeah, I mean, we saw a lot of great innovation. We saw a lot of companies like Overstock that took cryptocurrencies and the kind of new technology and ran with it and had a lot of success with it. I'm always very optimistic. I saw a lot of incredible, wonderful things done within this space, especially a lot of charity work, especially a lot of giving work, especially when it came to helping people one-on-one. So I'm holding. I have a lot of optimism, and that's just my opinion. You guys do whatever the hell you guys want. I am no expert in any way, shape, or form, but we tried to discover everything that's happening, try to give you some clarity, try to give you some important news. And if you guys enjoyed it, please share it with your friends and family members. I want to thank Josh for joining us. Check out his YouTube channel at World Alternative Media, which of course will be in the description below. And of course, last but not least, give us a good name on Steemit. I look forward to your comments. I look forward to your participation, mainly because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be here. And that is why I love you guys. Thank you again so much for watching. Stay tuned for more.